welcome to T.O.L Studios for lesson number 4. And in the previous lessons, we again had learned the open strings, how to see the individual strings, how the letters, like where they go as far as F, G, A, and so forth. And the reason I say that, if you don't know that, definitely go back to my lesson 1 for the beginner, and it just touches on the basics. And sometimes basics are good for all of us to review. In fact, a lot of times they are. And if that one you know, and maybe you like forget the first little thing I'm going to play here in a second that goes right here, go back to lesson 2, review that one. In lesson 3, we had learned how to play in this area, like right here. And I'll do these quick, but I'm not going to do them slow today, just because if you need practice, go back and review those previous lessons. In today's lesson, we're going to spend more time looking at how to play in this part of the neck. And again, all the notes I'll be showing you here are going to still be the same notes that would go here. They're just different fingers, and some of them are higher and lower, but meaning they're the same letters that follow, again, what we're going to talk about later on, what we call a scale. So we had learned this pattern where we did the open notes. And again, if you need help, this is in lesson 2. And again, this is going up the scale because we're going by sound and we're going higher than you're supposed to. And again, it's not how fast. Go the right speed so you're doing the right fingers. It might not seem like it matters right now, but when you get into playing songs or solos, you don't want to waste time letting your fingers all fumble up like a pretzel and get all knotted up. So again, if I'm playing that, okay, see that if you start changing fingers, you're never going to memorize that way. So you're memorizing it, again, by the way it feels, not just the way you memorize it in your brain. Okay, then we learned in lesson 3 how to do this pattern. Same thing, if you need help, you just go back to the previous lesson, because I break that down slower. But this was the first time we kind of learned to shift over so we could pick up, an extra fret slightly at this position, because we were right here and we just slightly stretched up to here. And then we did that one, or you should be doing this one by now, backwards. Okay, so the same thing on this one. When we went backwards, or going down the scale right now, we had to shift back. Meaning, again, I'm going to go up to the 3rd string A note. When we were in this pattern, we had learned to shift up like that. So the same thing's going to apply. And if you didn't catch this, then you should slow down and go back to the previous lesson and do this more. When you go backwards, you got your pinky here. So when you come back, you're shifting the pinky this time. Most people get that, but sometimes when we do this, people accidentally do something like this. And then, which it can work. Again, we'll explore that in songs, but most of the times if they do that, they're never doing it the same way every time, and then they don't fully memorize it. So just follow the way I'm showing you. Get the pinky, pull the pinky back, and then continue that way. And again, same thing, eventually you'll be playing this one quicker. And again, we'll explore ideas on how to help you play them faster later. So now we're going to take the same scale those were in, and we're going to look at playing at this position. So we're going to take our 1st finger, and we're putting it on the 5th fret. And the same thing's going to apply. Anything on this fret, any string, this finger, 1st finger, 2nd finger on this fret, 3rd finger, this fret, 4th finger. So we're going to start with this one, which is our A. And then we should know by now that B, if we stay on this string, this is back from lesson 1, is how I know this. So if you're wondering sometimes, how does he know that? Go back to lesson 1 again. That A, we learned B goes here. It goes up a whole step. So we're going to put our 3rd finger on B. So we're going to have A, B. We should know by now C goes next to it. So pinky. Then we're going to go to the 5th string, 5th fret. That's our D. So we'd have A, B, C, D. And then we should know by now E is going to come up 2 frets. And that's why I'm using 3rd finger again. Then F, we should have memorized, goes right next to it. So that gives us A, B, C, D, E, F. And the same thing, in the beginning your fingers might be doing some of this. But see how that sounded like that? All buzzy? It's never going to sound any better unless you get up on them fingertips and don't get on the frets or too far back. But even, this is why you should do these exercises, because this is the finger that's not going to want to get up on that tip. Okay, so as much as you can, you might want to sit there and do this. I've done exercises like this, which I know you're not going to like that because that feels real weird on your muscles there. You don't have to necessarily do that yet, but that is a good exercise, and I'll be showing in another video a bunch of little finger exercises to build up your coordination. But also, the more you stay on those tips, you're going to really callus those tips up. And by now, if you're playing enough in practice, and you're probably starting to feel some blisters, they go away, but then sometimes your fingers will kind of peel up. It's a callus. And eventually, the more you play, that skin gets so hard, you can push so hard, it's just a dead skin, big callus. That's going to help you play too and stay up on those fingertips. So I get it in the beginning, you're especially this finger, because if you're following my advice, you're using it from this pattern, and by now it's probably sore. It'll go away in time. You stop practicing, it'll just come back. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F. Then we're going to go G, A. Now B, there's kind of 2 ways you could. I could show you how to put it up here because A goes up 2 frets to B. And some guitar players do this. This is real common in jazz, and we can kind of explore that later in more detail. But since I don't want to make somebody make that stretch right now, I'm going to show you how to put that B back where we played it in this pattern here. So we're kind of doing that little shift thing that we learned in this pattern when we had to learn to go like this. The only difference is now in this pattern we're going to kind of shift back this way, which I know it's weird, and that's kind of what string instruments do. So we had A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now I'll slow down here. Then A, and since I got to go back 1, that's why I'm going to take this finger and go B. Then that means this is going to go C, come up to 2 frets, so that's why I'm using this at D. Now watch, I'm going to actually kind of do what we did in this pattern. I'm going to swing back this way because I'm going to get this E. So this one you get a little bit of 2 ways, kind of a little shift, where the other one was kind of just that 1. So that gives us again A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, then shift back to B, C with the 2nd finger, 4th finger on D, shift your 1st finger over to that fret for your E, that's the 5th fret, then your F, G, A, B, C. And again, I said this in the last few videos, but don't try to learn all that all at once. I try to make it look easy. It was hard for me. Some students need to just do the A, B, C, D, and I've had to practice that over and over because it felt weird to go from that to there. Sometimes I would accidentally miss the fret, or just hit the fret like I said don't do. So if you have to, stay on those 4 notes. Some had to stay on these 3 notes because this stretch is a little weird at first. The farther up the neck you go, sometimes it is going to feel a little funny at first. So sometimes spend longer on those trouble spots. The more you work on the harder parts, the better you'll be as a player. So again, maybe that's doing a few notes. Maybe that's practicing the first note to the next string. Or maybe it's just simply doing 2 strings through repetition. I used to do it this way. When I had that, I would just add the next string. Then I'd just go back. And eventually you will be. Okay? Now again, the hard part of this pattern is going to be right when you get in this area. So I finally learned if I got to this point up here, and I could get it finally right, getting that pinky to not feel too bad. But if my only trouble was still getting this one used to going here, then I used to just worry about that note and go. That way if I missed it, I could just do it again, because I realized I just missed it and hit the wrong fret, until that finger got used to going. And then I would do that if I had to, even if I got it one time, make sure I get it every time, or as close to every time as I can. Then I had to sometimes get used to this finger now and not wanting to slide that finger up. So sometimes I had to do this. And then do that again. Whatever it takes is all I'm trying to tell everybody. Everybody's different. And eventually, sometimes I would do that, and I finally would remember that was here. And I could do that slowly till I got used to that, which eventually did help me do it like this. And that took time, but it's from doing those things over and over. Then too, you eventually will do that. Now the same thing on this one, once you have it that way, then you're just going to work going backwards. And just like the other pattern before, this one's weird because you're going to have to shift back here. So now you're doing the opposite when we did it this way. You're going to go again. This is C to start it. B, A, then G, F, E. Then you're going to bring your pinky back to the D, C, B. Now I like to have everybody go A, G, and then pull it. Now some of my students do it that way, okay? This is what I meant to say. With those fingers, I like to show students, I'm going to do this again from the beginning. If we did it this way coming up the scale, I always tell you to do the same fingers going back. So I recommend going, that check in your C, B, A, G, F, the E. Let the pinky come back like it will to, once you train it, to the D. And that's what we did on when we went up the scale. C, B, but don't use your pinky here. Use this finger. Now you're back with your fingers like when we went up the scale. So you've got A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Now watch this as I go back up the scale, and I'll show you what I'm saying again. So eventually when you learn this, there's your B, C, D, E, F. Watch these fingers. See how I'm going G and the A. Now watch when I come back. That's where I'm pointing out. So then B, C, D. Switch up. That's your E, F, G, A, B, C. Now keep watching these on the way back when I get that string. So C, B, A, then your G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So again, practice that one over and over and get that one memorized like the other ones, and then we're going to keep connecting these. There's a few more to go, and then I'm going to start explaining scales to you. Have fun.